The BMR rear upper control arm mount is a great option for any 11 to 14 Mustang owner who wants to take their suspension a step farther by replacing the weak links in the rear setup. The stock mount will disrupt your power from getting to the tires even if you've upgraded your control arms, because your stock mount will still maintain the same weaknesses, which is what this will eliminate and improve upon. The installation is pretty straightforward with no modifications necessary, so expect 1 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter, which I'll talk about later on. Now, before you can understand the benefits of an upper control arm mount, you first need to understand the functions of a control arm. Now, the upper control arm in the rear is tasked with reducing wheel hop, which is exactly what it sounds like, as well as bouncing and instability. These essentially keep control and comfortability in your ride. Aftermarket control arms like BMR's rear upper control arm, for example, will improve the handling and performance of your Mustang by taking these functions I mentioned even a step farther, which is a huge benefit for both the street, strip, and track performance. Now, your cornering consistencies improves as well all around, which is why upgrading your stock arms to a set of aftermarket ones like BMR's would definitely be beneficial. Now, when you do upgrade, you're still left with a stock weak point with the factory mounts, which is exactly where this upper control arm mount from BMR comes into play. Even though your stock arm itself was upgraded, it's still bolted to the factory mount, which can deflect under load and prevent your power from completely making its way to the tires. What that basically means is the mount can actually flex during hard launches or even light cornering loads. It makes your ride inconsistent, and since it only has one mounting position, it can throw off your car's geometry or stance if it's lowered. This upgrade from BMR offers adjustability with 3 different mounting positions in order to fine-tune the suspension setup, whether it be for a lowered ride, a track car, or just a daily driver. This will eliminate that control arm flex and allow for instant centering and anti-squat changes for when your car is lowered. Now, it's made from heavy-duty 1 1/4 inch laser-cut CNC-formed steel plate, so it's super durable. The red powder-coated finish not only looks pretty cool, but it also prevents rust and corrosion. Now, I know I mentioned this is a good upgrade to complete a setup with new BMR upper control arms, but this can also just be used with stock arms if your mount went bad. Now, it also works with other brand of control arms. Now, there's a ton of different options out there on the site, all of which essentially do the same job, so it really comes down to brand for the most part. Now, with that said, if you've got upgraded BMR control arms, I'd recommend sticking with BMR's brand and picking these up. Now, they're made to work perfectly together, while other brands would work best with their own control arms. Now, if the red ones aren't doing it for you, there's also a black hammer tone option as well. This just stands out a little bit more. Now, either way, it'll run you about $150 for each mount. As I should mention, they are sold separately. The installation, as I mentioned earlier, won't require any drilling or modifications because they mount right up to the factory location. Now, as far as tools, you want to have a 3/8 or 1/2 inch drive ratchet or an impact wrench on hand. Now, for sockets, you'll need an 18mm, 21mm deep socket, 24, 25, and 27mm sockets, as well as finally a jack and jack stand or a lift. Now, a pry bar could come in handy here. You could also tackle this in about 2 hours or so without one, depending on your experience, but overall, it's simple enough for 1 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. Now, the first thing you need to do is remove the lower seat cushion to gain access to the upper control arm mounting bolt. Directly above the driver and passenger side footwells, there is a push release that detaches the seat cushions, then you can remove them. Use a 24mm socket to remove the large bolt on the drive shaft tunnel, then lift the Mustang with the jacks and support the weight using stands. Now, use a 21mm deep socket to remove the upper control arm bolt to the axle. Now, if it's tough, you might need to jack up the axle to remove the tension from the bolt to get it out easier. With an 18mm socket and extension, remove the 2 remaining upper control arm mount bolts and remove the upper control arm mount and the arm itself as a complete assembly. With a 25mm socket or wrench for the bolt head and a 27mm socket for the nut, remove the control arm. Lube up the bushings, then bolt the upper control arm to the new BMR mount. This is a great time to install upgraded control arms because doing them at the same time obviously makes it much easier. Torque the new bolt to 200 foot-pounds, then reinstall the new assembly using the same mounting points, then tighten the upper bolts or the upper mount bolts to 85 foot-pounds. Connect the rear control arm to the bushing on the rear end, then tighten to 129 foot-pounds. Greasing the fittings up at this point would also be beneficial. Then you can lower the car down, insert the large bolt into the upper mount inside the car, and torque it down to 240 foot-pounds. Reinstall the lower seat cushions, and you are good to go. That just about wraps this one up. So if you're the owner of a 2011 to 2014 Mustang, you might want to check out the BMR rear upper control arm mount in red, which is available right here at AmericanMuscle.com.